Hello everyone, my name is Zach. I am the Traveling Man and I come to you today from Israel in the Dead Sea. Today we're going to visit Masada. I'm going to talk to you a lot about the Dead Sea, so come on if you're ready. Let's get this adventure started. We started the day with about a 2-hour drive. It's roughly around 100 miles from the port of Ashdod to Masada National Park. Now, along this drive, we drove through the deserts of Israel. We actually passed below the sea level mark and went below sea level as we neared the Dead Sea. Of course, the Dead Sea is the lowest point on Earth, and it's located in the Great Rift Valley. So it was actually cool to see as we descended into the Great Rift Valley. They had marks on a lot of the rocks along the roadway. You could actually tell the exact moment when you dipped below sea level. We reached the southern shores of the Dead Sea before we stopped at Masada National Park, which is located on the southwestern edge of the Dead Sea, just right near the border of Israel with Jordan. And something interesting about Masada National Park, it's actually one of the most visited tourist attractions in all of Israel. It's only second behind Jerusalem Biblical Zoo, and each year Masada National Park draws in somewhere around 750,000 visitors. Situated on top of a mesa, Masada National Park was actually built by Herod the Great somewhere between 37 and 31 BC. Now, while the ruins here you might see in some of the clips, they look a lot like the other ancient ruins that you see in areas all over the world. However, the stunning views on top of Masada actually make this quite a bit different. It's a little bit more unique than some of those other ruins that you might see. And for me at least, I think the views up here looking out over the Dead Sea were some of the coolest things about it. It wasn't really the ruins that took me as much as it was the views. Now, Masada towers some 1,400 feet over the Dead Sea, making it the perfect location for a fortress because you can look all around you in all directions and you could see people coming for miles and miles around. However, the mesa itself is actually only 190 feet above sea level. So we've now stopped off here in the village of Qumran, and you might be saying, so what? Never heard of that before. But it's actually quite significant for a number of reasons. In biblical times, both Jesus and John the Baptist actually spent time here in Qumran. You can actually see the Dead Sea right there behind me. So we're still in the Great Rift Valley. We're still well below sea level. But also, back in the late 1940s and early 1950s, just right back down here a little bit, you can see the hills here. There are caves in these hills, and actually, just right down here in one of the caves, the story goes, there just happened to be a shepherd out tending to his livestock one evening, maybe his sheep or something, when one of the sheep, he notices as he counts up, is gone. One of the sheep is gone, so he goes back to check the cave because that was the most likely location that the sheep probably had wandered off to. So he's going to the entrance to each cave, he throws in a stone and he waits because, of course, if there was an animal of some sort in the cave, you've startled it now and it'll run out. But instead of an animal running out, when he threw a stone into one of the caves, he heard something break. He goes in and discovers the Dead Sea Scrolls. And of course, the Dead Sea Scrolls are quite significant. They are the oldest biblical records that we have, these predate Jesus, even go back before the time of Jesus. So pretty amazing to think that if Jesus were here in this town, the Dead Sea Scrolls were just right there. But that's the significance of the town here in Qumran. And keep in mind, as I mentioned, this happened in the late 1940s and early 1950s, or the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls right there. And I say that because a lot of the history in this area is ancient history at this point. It's over 2,000 years ago, ancient history, but not the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Also, something interesting to note about the Dead Sea, if you look out from here, notice there's a lot of dry land there. Notice there's only a just very narrow swath of actual water. And that's because the Dead Sea is drying up by as much as 80 centimeters per year. It's losing water very quickly. In fact, let me come to the other side of this tree over here. Back in the 1940s, the water would be up to some of the lower portions of these cliffs back over here. However, because it is receding so quickly, this valley is essentially drying up. And there's large sinkholes as a result. Of course, the water table below the surface, as it dries up, a lot of the water is going away, so the ground can no longer be supported. It's creating huge sinkholes, and I put some footage in here as we drove up the road to show you some of that. Now, the cause of all this is actually the Jordan River. So just north of here, flowing into the Dead Sea, is the Jordan River, and up north of the Jordan River is the Sea of Galilee. And because this is the only freshwater source in this region, they're pulling a lot of water out of the Jordan River long before it ever makes it here to the Dead Sea. And because it doesn't rain that much in Israel, they're not replenishing the water supply very often. So as they take water out of the Jordan River, it's actually reducing the amount of water that's available here at the Dead Sea. And as a result, the Dead Sea is actually drying up. Now, in just a few minutes, we're actually going to go to the beach and be able to get out in the Dead Sea. And of course, the Dead Sea is famous not only for being the lowest point on Earth, the lowest elevation on Earth, but it's also known because you can actually potentially float on the water. And we'll see if that's true when we get down there, because I'm definitely going to go in. That's because of the high salt concentration in the Dead Sea. There is so much salt, the saltiest water on Earth. Now, because of this, there is no marine life, there is no biological habitats in the Dead Sea. It's just too salty for anything to live there, so it is just a body of water. Now, I mentioned it is the lowest point on Earth, and that's because we are located in the Great Rift Valley. Now, the Great Rift Valley starts up around the Sea of Galilee, comes all the way down the eastern side of Israel with the Jordan River, here at the Dead Sea, which is right behind me. It actually goes all the way out the Red Sea. The Red Sea is actually made up of the Great Rift Valley, and the Great Rift Valley is actually the same valley that separates Madagascar from the African continent. Not only is this a great valley, it's also a great tectonic plate. And because of this, there's at least one earthquake a day in this region that registers on the Richter scale, whether anyone feels it or not. And actually, they're overdue for a major earthquake by about 100 or so years. That's usually the cycle of frequency of these major earthquakes that they have, and they're overdue by 100 or so years. And it's really cool to see, as we got into the desert here today around the Dead Sea, just some of the rock formations and stuff. There's a lot of limestone here in Israel, and that's because millions of years ago this was all actually underwater. This was part of the ocean. The Mediterranean Sea actually stretched at that time all the way from Gibraltar over in Spain all the way east to Iran, so a huge ocean here. And then over time, after several geological events took place, the land actually rose up and caused what we know as current day Israel. Welcome to the Dead Sea. This is the lowest place on planet Earth. This is the Dead Sea, the lowest point on Earth. And I was telling you all that history back there because this is all geography. This is all geology, so it's really cool that even among all the history that you have here, the religious history, all the religions here in Israel, you also have some really cool geographical features. So it's so cool to be here. It's so cool to take it all in. You hear all your life about the Dead Sea, the lowest point on the earth, but to get to come here, get to experience it, get to step out into the water in just a minute, hopefully get to float on the water. It's just really, really cool. A lot of folks come here to get mudded up because, like, the water, which is salty, the mud here is thought to have minerals and things that are good for the skin. Well, that's going to do it for our time here at the Dead Sea and in Masada region of Israel. Thank you so much for watching this video. It was so much fun to travel here and create. If you enjoyed it, make sure you go down below, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, because we have more adventures from Israel here to come. Many more cruise adventures to come as well. Thank you so much for watching. And from the Dead Sea, I'll see you on the next adventure. And this is, of course, because of its location in the Great Rift Valley.